Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about my two books that I'm writing, and I'm so excited because I have been writing so much recently. I just have to talk about it. I have to talk about everything that is going into these books. I have two that I'm writing at this very moment, and I have a book for each of them because I'm writing them by hand. I am basically going to talk about how I came up with ideas and just how easy it is to come up with ideas if you don't think about it too much, and then what I do once I get an idea and how I turn it into basically a book. I've never finished a book. So it's not like I have the best advice in the world, but I have listened to about 1,000,000 YouTube videos, interviews from authors, and I've also read 200 books, so I feel like books and writing is absolutely 90% of my life. So, I have a little to say, and I feel like, although I'm not a published author and I have not even finished my first draft, hopefully I will be soon. Not necessarily a published author soon, but I do want to finish my first draft of at least one of my books by the end of 2027, because if I'm still writing by the end of 2027, girl, what are you doing? Because I want to write a book that's 200 to 250 pages, no more than that. I don't like 300 and above, I just don't, and that's not what I want to write. I like stories that are short but hit really hard. Okay? So, I don't have a script, so I'm just talking and it's making me nervous. So I'm just gonna go all over the place. Okay, the first novel that I started writing is, it's been so many different things. I have literally erased 10,000 words because I didn't like the story and it wasn't going anywhere, and I literally can't even tell you. It was a coming of age. There was no I really like horror and I like psychological horror-ish kind of, and unreliable narrators, but the book was regular teenage girl. It literally was me, 19-year-old in college, growing up, becoming an adult, and becoming a writer, and getting into a relationship with a not so good guy, and then also having this part isn't me, and then also having a abusive dad. But I couldn't do anything with that, and I was getting bored, and I just couldn't get further. And then I came up with this idea. I don't know where it came from. I really like to read about and come up with stories about people being really obsessive, because honestly, the one thing in my life that is kind of related to my character is that I'm really obsessive over things. So a movie, I'll be obsessed with it for weeks. A genre of music or a specific song or band, I will listen to it on repeat for months before I can switch. I can't listen to multiple things at once. YouTube videos, I will listen to the same YouTube video every single day, over and over and over and over and over, until I find a new interesting one. That goes for writing videos. I will rewatch them over and over. Interviews with authors, I will get obsessed with authors. I'll get obsessed with certain kinds of books, and I cannot read outside of that bubble. I mean, these sound very mild, but also I will get obsessed with a certain kind of food, and I can't eat anything else other than that kind of food. Right now, the only thing that I really will eat every day is a double smoked bacon cheddar and egg sandwich from Starbucks for breakfast. I can't have anything else. I can't have anything else for breakfast, or I don't eat breakfast. And then there's this baked goat cheese appetizer from the place that I work. If I don't eat that for lunch, I'm not eating. Sometimes it'll be pasta, sometimes it'll be sushi that I have to DoorDash, which is a lot of money. I'm just really obsessive. At one point, it was a box of Kraft mac and cheese. I would have it every single day. Anyway, the good thing about obsession is with writing, you need to be obsessed with your work. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to write it and really hard to finish, at least for me. Whenever I'm not 100% obsessed with it and thinking about it all the time, I'm not writing, and I have to force myself to write. I'm going to talk about how I came up with the first book idea, basically. Okay, so this one is about a girl who is really obsessed with her best friend Danny. Sadie is the main character. Her name is Sadie Lynn Parker, and then Danny is Danielle Zephyr, but just Danny for short. She's, I mean, obviously, if you listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know that comes straight from their songs. So she's like kind of Danny California, basically, and then like the Zephyr song mixed together, the people that are talked about in those songs, and all of their songs, like the free spirited, like all over the place girl, that's Danny. And Sadie and Danny are best friends, and every time someone kind of like gets in their little circle and tries to be friends with them, Sadie ends up getting really jealous and like no one really realizes what's going on, but she ends up scaring them away. Like they had a friend named Jenny in high school, and something happened, and like after that they never really had anyone except for themselves, so they're like a duo. Sadie's genuinely obsessed with Danny, and whenever she gets a boyfriend, Calloway, and they all start hanging out as like a little trio, things go wrong. She gets like jealous, but she doesn't understand what her feelings are, and she gets obsessed with Calloway, without realizing that's what she really wants is Danny, and everything is, it's supposed to be like a little creepy and a little scary, and then like unreliable narrator, really destructive, obsessive compulsive behaviors. Obviously I took these characters from, well, not obviously, but I took these characters from my first like book that I was writing. It's like the same novel. Like I'm not writing that anymore. I changed it to this. And I still haven't come up with a story. I want to do like a Red Hot Chili Peppers reference or like a song as the title, because it's kind of like inspired by their music. So basically, the moment that I got that idea and I was like, I need to like expand. I wrote it down in a journal, this is just my general like writing journal, with so many things written down in it, just ideas. And then once I form a novel idea, I go and get a journal. So this is the first one. And what I did first is I write out like the characters in the book, because I already have them like thought. Like the main characters, we have Sadie Lynn Parker, and then Danielle Zephyr. They're both 20. They're in their second year of college, which I'm literally about to be in my second year. It's kind of like self-insert. It's just like I'm writing what I know. And then I write down like my inspirations. So I have a lot of inspiration for this specific book. I have Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. The kind of like couple hanging out with like the two girls, like I don't know, the vibe. I like the vibe of hanging out not only as a couple and not only as friends, like mixing those two kind of groups. And then like things obviously went south in that book, and that's happening here too. So I do take inspiration from Sally Rooney's writing in that book. Like her characters are pretty self-destructive and not the smartest. So I just read Lovers XXX by Ali Rowbottom, and like I've talked about that book so many times on this channel, but from that book I was inspired by the female friendship between Winnie and June, I think. Her name's June. I'm like losing my voice. I don't know what's going on. I'm having a panic attack. Anyway, and then another situation which is similar is Yash, Sam, and Casey, the girl they call Jordan, and Heart the Lover. I like that little like trio situation. It's basically that, but flipped all over. Like it's not the same at all. And then the main character is obviously like very scarily obsessed. It's like unreliable narrator inspiration. I am inspired by The Yellow Wallpaper, always have been, always will be, and Death in Her Hands by Otis Moshfegh. So many songs, and I have a Pinterest board for the book as well, which I print out photos at Walgreens from Pinterest boards and I put them in the journal just to give a visual. So for Sadie Lynn Parker, blonde girl, big eyes, like kind of crazy messy hair, like wavy, but she doesn't really take care of it that well, which is my hair. And then I do like a little character page with their photo. So like age, sophomore at Louisiana State University, which where I live, which is the setting. Best friends with Danny, obsessed, obsessive compulsive behaviors. She's not a good liar, and so that's one thing. Basically, how people find things out is because they straight up are suspicious and they ask her, and Sadie can't lie. Like, she just can't. She's not a good liar. I can't lie either, so it was like pretty easy to write because like if someone were to ask me something, like I cannot lie. Like one time my mom asked me if I lied to her about where I got the cat that I took home and told her it was a stray kitten that I found. It was my friend's. She said, "Be honest, where did you get this cat?" I can't lie, so I was like, "From Afton, my friend." She made me get rid of the cat. If you want to write like a book or a short story or anything can be inspiration. Literally anything. A conversation that you have, a memory that you have, a random photo that you see, literally anything that you do or see or hear, overhear. I overhear conversations, I overhear stories about people. I immediately write it down if it's interesting. Which is why it's great to work at a restaurant because I always hear people just having the most bizarre conversations and I'm like, wow. And whenever I worked at a gym, people would come and sit on little couches by the front desk and would talk about the wildest things, and I always wrote it down. I also stole names from people whenever they check in or they make a reservation. If I like the name, I'm writing it down. I always find myself trying to find a name for a character in my books, and so to have like a list of just running names, especially if you have like a baby name list, very good idea to have as a writer. Then I can't really like imagine a face for Danny yet, so I just have like them together. Sorry, my alarm keeps going off. Danny has brown hair, long, kind of wavy. She wears it in braids. She's like type B, likes being around people, free spirit, doesn't really like to be alone. I'm imagining like freckles on her like face here and then on her shoulders, because she's always in the sun. And then there's a scene in the beginning like where you figure out why there's a lot of music references and why they're like obsessed with music because they together when they were in middle school found Sadie's dad's record collection and his record player and they like listened to all these songs and discovered like all this rock music. And I have some album covers for the songs that are mentioned a lot printed out. I just have like a little vision board of scenes. So this looks like my pool kind of, and that's where I'm imagining a certain scene. And then the records and the record player, and then like the tennis court, and just like a book that is mentioned, the bell jar. So much easier for me to write by hand because I'm distracted when I'm looking at a screen, and just writing by hand is so much more engaging and like you completely get lost in it. To me, I have playlists for my books. So for this one, I have this little playlist here. So we have like Are We Still Friends by Tyler the Creator. I mean, obviously, Jenny by Studio Killers, Paparazzi by Lady Gaga. These kind of like remind me of just like being obsessive and being obsessed with someone. The Red Means I Love You by Mads Buckley, Headlock by Imogen Heap, It's My Life by No Doubt is like a song that gets brought up because No Doubt is like their favorite band. And then we have a bunch of like Red Hot Chili Pepper songs. These are like songs that I feel like they would be playing all the time. They would listen to these songs, and then also like songs that are like kind of the vibe of the book. That is how I kind of came up with that idea, and then once I had an idea, I realized that discovery writing completely and not outlining it probably wouldn't work for me because I feel like I kind of need a little bit of organization. So what I did is I did a rough outline. What I do is I do chapter 1, or you just break it up into sections if you want. I only have it broken into 11 chapters. There's definitely be more chapters. I just couldn't think of like how to separate them, so I just put them into like categories. I wrote like 1 to 3 sentences for each chapter of what happens, just in general, and I outlined the entire book, start to finish, in like 2 hours, maybe like 1 hour. It did not take long at all. My creative juices were flowing. I had the playlist on and I was just thinking about it, and it all just came together. The only thing that I don't know for sure is the very last chapter, the very last scene. I don't know what I want to happen. And obviously I'm not going to spoil like literally anything here because, I don't want to spoil my book. As for my other book, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I came up with this one. This one I named This Will Destroy Me. That title could change, but I like it. So it's about a guy, Mason Thames is going to play him in the movie not if, when I publish this book and I get a movie deal. Or I just screenwrite and direct the movie myself. So it's, both of these are first person, okay, and they're both unreliable narrators, but this guy, his name is Thomas Mallory. I like the name Thomas, and then Mallory is like Mal bad. It's like, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of ironic. Pathological liar, in comparison to her, he lies all the time for no reason. He cannot control himself. He's a very compulsive liar. His parents, they're not like in his life. They were rich, but he basically tells everybody that he's poor. He acts like he's poor. He lives like he's poor. He lives in a hotel. He has this very weird and uncomfortable relationship with like the hotel owner, and she gives him a discount because she thinks that he's like attractive, and they have like a sexual relationship so that he can get a discount. But you believe every word that he's saying, and all of his problems that he's saying he has. You believe everything because why wouldn't you? Like, he comes off as telling the truth and he comes off as trustworthy, but inspirations for this, I feel like I've kind of more finalized the inspirations for this story than like the other one. I'm still kind of getting inspired as I go, but like the emotion and vibe I get from Longlegs, Nightcrawler, American Psycho, I mean obviously Yellow Wallpaper again, unreliable narrator, the song Undone by Weezer, Creep, the song, Tate Langdon in general, New Orleans in the French Quarter is where it's set. That's where he lives. He lives at, well, I went to the Hotel Chateau, or Chateau Hotel, I don't know. It's basically where it's set. I don't know if I'm gonna name it the Chateau Hotel still, or if I'm gonna change the name, but that's literally where he lives, on the first floor where I stayed. Perfect for this story. This is inspired by my cousin saying that she wants to be homeless when she grows up, and her parents are pretty well off. That's where I got this inspiration. I mean, that's not the whole point. The point is that he just lies about quite literally everything. His parents are actually well off, and he does have money. He just cannot help himself with lying. He obviously is in a sexual relationship with this older hotel owner, who I imagine as Victoria Pedretti. Like by the time I would publish this, she'd be older, but not old, but here, this is what I have in my head. Okay, and this is Thomas Mallory, obviously, Mason Thames, like I said. And then eventually he takes girls out to eat, and this is the first scene. It opens with him out to dinner with a girl, and because he can't afford it, he will eat, he will say I have to go to the bathroom, and he will leave them there, and he won't pay, and that's how he gets his food. Why does he do this? Because he genuinely is sick in the head. This is his psychopathy test. These are just like fun things you can do to like make them more real. I just went through these questions and I gave him a score 0 to 2. He ended up getting a 33. You have to get a 30 to be a psychopath in America, and he definitely past either one of his dates or a girl just in general. He'll meet a girl and they actually like hit it off and he seems to actually be into her. But obviously it's not normal. Like it's not, he doesn't just normally like have a crush on her. He's, you know, like obsessive, a pathological liar. He's very untrustworthy and she is not gonna basically, she's like not gonna let him, you know, like get away with everything. And I think somehow she finds out about all of this, but I haven't gotten there yet. Okay, it's a little bit of a spoiler, and that is probably not even how it's gonna go. That's just my idea. I haven't outlined this book yet because I'm more into the first one, but that is what I have for my second one. And for the playlist for that one, I have obviously Creep, I have Covet by Basement, Plush by Stone Temple Pilots, Everlong by Foo Fighters because that song reminds me of Tate Langdon, Man in the Box by Alice in Chains, Them Bones, and Wood by Alice in Chains. Me by Nirvana, I don't want to say the R word. Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins, Changed by Deftones, and Say It Ain't So by Weezer. Obviously, I'm gonna add more, but those are just like, you know, those are the kind of songs that would like play in the movie. Like I can just imagine. Like yes, yes. For that book, I'm probably not gonna keep writing totally until I finish and completely dissect American Psycho the book. Obviously, like a big inspiration for that like unreliable narrator character, favorite movie of all time, but he's not like a killer and he's not like a corporate America icon. He acts like he's poor. He's pretty much the opposite, but he does take advantage of women, so there's that. I probably will have more to say, and there's probably stuff that I'm forgetting, but I will definitely make another video soon. But just take this as your sign. If you have any idea of anything you want to write, if you want to write anything literally at all, just start. Just start. Just start. Watch some YouTube videos and get started because I'm in school for creative writing, but I'm not even to my second year yet. It is not. You do not need to go to school to be a writer. I just have to be in school. My parents are making me be in school. And I mean, I like being in school, but like, you don't need to be. Pick up Save the Cat, and you've got it. I, for the most part, follow like the story structure, just the general like story structure in Save the Cat. Not really particularly Save the Cat one. I just follow like, you know, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. As long as you can just outline the 5 parts in the arc, you can do anything. You can do anything. You can do it with a short story, you can do it with a novel, you can do it with a series. No matter how old you are, you can write. If you're like 11, Stephen King started publishing at like 12 or something. If you're 50, 60, and you have a story idea, write it. There's no age to be a writer. So, if you have any ideas, write it. You got this. Anyway, I am going to go read American Psycho. Bye, guys!